Hi, everyone. I want to introduce the incredible Cathy Williams, movement and expressive arts therapy facilitator and member of your Sensual Souls Spirit Squad, who are here to help empower you to let go of everything that is not you and embrace your truest self through self discovery, self care, and self expression. Welcome, Cathy.
Thanks, Kate. I always love our chats. So juicy.
Yay. I was thinking to start off with, could you just tell us a little bit about what movement and expressive arts therapy is?
For me, movement and expressive art therapy is a way to be with your whole self, your heart, your body, your mind, in a really holistic and integrated way. So I come at it from the perspective that often what we're seeking outside of ourselves, like the answers, are in fact housed within us. That's certainly been my experience anyway. And working with the body, working with movement, working with the somatics, and working with a variety of different creative modalities as like our entry point, our avenue into those inner resources, those insights, that wisdom that we can tap into that support us to navigate the ebbs and flows of life.
Wow, I love that. Such powerful work. And it really sounds like a way to reconnect to yourself and reconnect to the wisdom that's within you. What kind of practices are involved in movement and expressive arts? So when we hear those words, like what does that mean? What is movement? What is expressive arts?
Yeah. So it's really working with the body. It is the belief that our bodies remember everything that we go through, every experience, every emotion. And instead of being solely in the mind and talking to the experience and being in the narrative of it, we're actually able to explore them through the body and movement and the creative art modalities. So this is everything from breath work, from body awareness, somatic touch, uh, intuitive movement, which is sort of free form movement. So, really listening, like a deep listening to what the body needs, what's there, what wishes to be expressed, um, and moving quite intuitively and sort of improv, if you will. And then this is coupled with the creative arts and expressive arts modalities, which I love because there's so much potential with this. So it's everything from reflective writing to process art. So really like being with the body and putting things out onto the page or onto the canvas. And that could be pencils, pastels, different paints. It could be clay, so that, really that textured sort of sensory feel. Um, Working with collage, nature art, the possibilities are quite endless, which is so beautiful.
That's amazing. I think what I love about your work, with Sensual Souls, we've got, I always say we're focusing on these three areas: self discovery, self care, and self expression. And I feel like your work just really spans all three of those so beautifully and integrates them so well. Like you're going into the depths, you're reconnecting with yourself, you're discovering yourself, you're caring for yourself through these practices, and then you're expressing yourself like very quite literally through the work that you do.
Well, that's it. It's like it's such a playful yet deep and therapeutic way of getting to know yourself. Like it really is, like I call it creative self-discovery, because it's a way to be with yourself in a curious way where you go in and there's no judgment with what is there. And it's really about not getting out of the mind, but like how do we integrate with the mind and the body and the heart and get playful and get curious, and then we can make meaning out of it. Or maybe it's just about releasing and shifting what's there. But it's kind of in that way tapping into the subconscious realms as well, and being curious about what insights and messages we can receive when we meet ourselves in those places.
Wow, yeah, holding yourself like in a space of non-judgment and just being with yourself in a space of non-judgment can be so healing and powerful. And I'm wondering what called you to work with this particular modality of healing? Was it something that you first experienced as part of your own healing journey?
Yes. So my background is actually in community development. So for 14 years, I worked as a community development practitioner. I worked on a grassroots level in community groups, co-designing, implementing different projects, and often facilitating these programs. So most of them were with young people, at-risk young people, and there was sort of like a through line of education and capacity building. Um, and what this meant was that it took me on many different adventures. And for about 6 years there, I was doing these projects internationally. Um, but in 2012, on the back of 3 back-to-back projects, which had me sort of, I was in Central America, in Guyana, and then I came back. I was only in Melbourne for about 6 weeks, and then I went off to the Philippines, where I then lived for 9 months. And I guess because I didn't have any go-to practices, I didn't really know what self-care was. I was living very much in my head, like this go, go, go mentality. I got incredibly burnt out. I got quite jaded from the field that I was working in. Um, and what I later understood as, I guess, compassion fatigue. So sort of this continuous output and not regenerating that back to myself to be able to give from the overflow. Um, and I returned from that trip, yeah, incredibly jaded and just so depleted. And a girlfriend was attending a what essentially I guess was a women's circle workshop, with which her friend was leading, and she invited me to come along. I didn't really know much else about it, um, but as soon as I got there, I felt so held, like this immediate sort of feeling of coming home, and was embraced by the facilitator. And over the next 3 hours, she opened up this space where we were able to really be with whatever was present for us. And for me, that was um, a lot of confusion about what I was doing in this field, and a lot of low energy. And it was a space where I could really be with that without having to talk about it, without having to go into the story. And I was able to shift it through moving and dancing. She had a drum in the middle of the room, and we just sort of, people were sort of rolling around, we were stomping, people were laughing, people were crying. Like it was so, it was a container for everything that people felt. And then after we moved, we captured it in colors, lines, and shapes, and we drew it out. We wrote from some prompts, and we then had this opportunity to be witnessed by each other. And at the end of this workshop, I was like, oh my God, what is this? Like, I need this in my life. And it turns out that she had just come back from her Tamalpa Institute training in America with Anna and Daria Halpern. So that, I guess, took me on this journey of diving into every course, every workshop that I could get my hands on, being in touch with different facilitators and being mentored by them. And then through through the world of different dance therapy and somatic therapy, studied it, did my own healing through that process. It has been my staple and my go-to for my own healing through different life changes, leaving an abusive relationship, through a pregnancy journey. Like, just, it's been incredible. And I've been very lucky to be trained by and work with the different people and pioneers in the industry that I have. And it also came at this time where a couple of years into my training, I was like, this is what I want to be doing. I want to be sort of molding those two worlds, like fusing them together, like the community development, the social justice, but then also the creative therapeutic practices, and how can we bring them together for, I feel like everyone should be able to access this for their well-being. And that's why I believe in the work so strongly, because I live it, I breathe it, and it has helped me through so much of life.
And this is something that you've now really mastered. I mean, I've been to some of your workshops, and just the way that you hold space for people to be with themselves in a non-judgmental way, and for people to feel comfortable sharing with people who are initially total strangers. Just the way that you hold space and create that safety for people is so beautiful. And I love how you spoke about, combining these creative healing modalities with community, because both aspects are so important. And that's really a lot of what we are doing with Sensual Souls as well, is trying to bring people together in community so that they don't have to go on their journeys alone.
I feel like sometimes we can feel so isolated and we can feel so alone in our experiences. And I completely understand the value of our personal practices and, these toolkits to continue to come back to ourselves, to then be able to be with other. But there is something incredibly powerful about being in spaces where you can do all of that and you can meet these parts of yourselves, but then you can be seen and witnessed and acknowledged in that rawness as well, with what you're wanting to share. But we're all in this together, and being able to be part of the collective is something that I love to share, and a big reason why I am with Sensual Souls and this beautiful tribe that we are forming.
Yes, I feel like the cure to loneliness is to be fully like seen and witnessed and held and heard, and to be seen and witnessed in those difficult parts of ourselves, to bring forward those parts of ourselves that we're hiding away from even ourselves, and allow them to be seen and accepted by others. That's like just magic.
Absolutely.
Why might people come to work with you? What sorts of challenges might they be facing, or what sorts of goals might they have?
Yeah, so I've worked with many different people in many different capacities. So I run one-on-one sessions, group work. I've held like intentional workshop spaces, but also drop-in casual spaces. And then there's courses as well, which are longer journeys. So the intention clients have varies greatly with what they're going through at the time, and what they hope to get out of attending one of the offerings. I think the most common reason people come is they are seeking a way to get out of their head, out of certain patterns or habits in their life, and back into their body. So I've had clients come to me to work through stress and anxiety. They're wanting to feel more embodied, more balanced, perhaps. They're feeling stagnant or indecisive. They're wanting to cultivate more joy in their life, or seeking support through a particular like life's transition, and just wanting extra support and extra holding during that time. So what I ask is that people come, whether it's a workshop they were holding or a one-on-one session, come with an open mind and a curiosity and willingness to see what is there to be revealed and uncovered in a really creative way where you get to self-discover. It does take courage and curiosity to be open to such a space, um, and hold space for all that's there to be met. But it is so worth it. And I really do appreciate my clients' trust in me to hold that for them.
Amazing. So, Cathy, you've spoken to this a little bit already, but how do you feel that this work goes beyond a modality like talk therapy, or can it be complementary?
I feel like it can absolutely be complementary. I've personally experienced various forms of talk therapy since I was a teenager. Um, and I absolutely feel that talk therapy has a place. What I did find though was that it was very focused in on the mind. So trying to problem solve, a lot of analyzing our way through to find solutions. Um, and it did serve me, and it has served me through different seasons of my life. But what I really needed, and what I felt like movement and expressive art therapy and the different people that I've seen for my own sessions, and then the different training that I've done, which is just like one crash course in your own healing, um, was this permission giving to be with what was present for me at the time, and just to actually step back and not try and analyze it, but be like, okay, how does that actually feel, and where can you feel that in your body, and let it take up space, probably for the first time ever, like not to be afraid of what's there, but to let it be seen and not hidden away or tucked away or compartmentalized away, but for it to be out in the open and to work with it really intentionally. Um, and I guess that with that sense as well, I was I was setting the pace. I was being with what came up, whether it was something from the past or something that was really had a lot of charge in that moment. I got to sort of dictate what I was ready to dive into. And then through what came through in my movements, whether it was what I saw in my mind's eye, what came through in the dance, what came through on the piece of paper, it was up to me to make meaning of it. So it wasn't someone else analyzing it for me. It was me being like, oh, when I look at that, I feel this, or I actually see this symbol. And, you make your own meaning out of things. And I feel like that is so powerful. It is so powerful for you to come to your own conclusions, for you to tap into your own wisdom. And I feel like that's why it's different to talk therapy. It is very client centered. The client has full agency, sets the pace, goes where they feel safe to go. And me as a facilitator, I am holding space for that creative exploration, and I get to provide invitational prompts along the way that might bring things out, a little bit of gentle encouragement, but continuously letting them know that they are safe and that I'm there. Um, and in that way also it offers practices that they can drop into in the day to day. So it's not like they have to wait for a session. It's like they've got practices, they've got symbols and movement gestures that they've come up with that has come from them, that they can practice and return to when they need to self-regulate, when emotions are big or uncomfortable. They've designed these things for themselves to return to, and in that way it's incredibly organic, it's incredibly authentic, and it is driven by them, which
Yes,
I
and
love.
absolutely. And it sounds empowering. So it is empowering the person through giving them these practices and these new tools to be able to be their own authority in their healing, rather than becoming reliant on you or on anybody else to navigate difficult life circumstances.
Absolutely. And I think knowing that we've got community is so comforting, but also knowing that you don't have to continuously look outside of yourself for those answers as well is really empowering.
What would you say to someone who this is just totally out of their comfort zone, who's just like, I don't move. I am not a mover. I'm not a dancer. I don't do that. And I am not creative. I'm not an artist. This is just not this is totally out of my comfort zone.
I get that a lot. Sometimes when I tell people what I do, I specifically say movement rather than dance, because I feel like we all have this idea in our mind of what dance should look like, or, oh, I can't do those moves, or I'm not a dancer, I'm not an artist. I would say it's not about that. It's not about looking a certain way. It's not about performing. It's not about creating a masterpiece, to present to the world. It is incredibly internal, it's introspective, it's about connecting with your body, it's about connecting with your body in new ways, in ways that are meaningful to you. And it's about getting playful and curious about all that is within you and all that you have to offer with your body wisdom to support you in living the life that you want to live and feeling the way that you want to feel. And if they can, to be open and curious about what's there, and we start where they're ready to start from. And that could be putting some dots on the page, that could be with a word, that could be with simply being with your breath and noticing how your breath moves your body. I've done a lot of work with teenage women, teenage girls and young women, and I can't dance, or I'm not ready to dance, especially in front of other people, it's so intimidating. And I always come back to this idea that, like, we are constantly moving, like, we're constantly moving, we're in these bodies, and how we treat them and how we work with them is really important. But it doesn't have to be so serious, we can be really playful, we can be really silly, and that's creativity. That's, this idea that an artist or creativity is something outside of themselves. It's like, let's drop all of those shoulds or what it should look like or anything like that, and actually come back to, like, what feels good, what feels fun and energizing and pleasurable. So I really do encourage people, if they're curious about it and they're open to fresh ways of being with themselves, to give it a try.
Yeah, it's like really kind of connecting to the inner child in a way. Like when we were kids, we never thought I can't dance or I can't move or I'm not an artist. We just gave it a go and we expressed ourselves constantly. So, yeah, I think having that opportunity to do so in a non-judgmental space um, is just really a unique offering and something that you do so well. And I'm wondering if you could go a little bit deeper into what it is that you do to make people feel safe in these settings, particularly when it's a group of people, whether it's in person or online, but there's a group of people together there moving. How do you create safety for everyone in that sort of environment?
Yeah. So safety is something that I feel very strongly about. And it was a long, I studied all of this for a long time before I actually started putting my own offerings out there, because I was so aware that this work can be so incredibly powerful, but that it can also be a lot, and we need to feel safe and comfortable to go where, in all the different pathways that are open to being explored. So my love language is reminding my clients of their power. So I set that up really early, that they have the power. I am in support of them. They have the agency, they set the pace. All of my suggestions and prompts, any processes that we do, any invitations, they're all invitational. So particularly with one-on-one sessions, it's incredibly tailored to the client, to what their intention is, to what's present in the moment. And I establish really early on that it is about deeply listening to your body, your heart, and your mind in each moment to moment, and what you feel comfortable doing, what your body needs in that moment, regardless of what my invitations are as well. And we also establish, I guess, anchor points or places of safety before we go into the work as well. So things like, for one-on-one sessions, it could be a breath that they can return to. You know, the breath is always available to us. It could be a word or a symbol or like a movement gesture that is a place of comfort for them that they can return to. Sometimes it's even, if they're really visual, like coming up with a place of safety in their mind's eye that they can be in as well. Um, and in my workshops, in my group sessions, I establish all of that as well. But what I also say, because we're with other people, is that we are co-creating this space together. So we're co-creating a non-judgmental space. And when I say that, it does include, you know, not judging other people and what they're willing to share and what comes through, but it's mainly not judging what is going to come up for us as individuals. And yeah, I think the main thing is about letting them know that they are in complete control. Um, Everything's an invitation, and they can take this opportunity to really listen to what their needs are and follow that
Hmm.
above all else.
Yes. So being client centered, having them be the authority in their own healing, empowering them. And then also this amazing skill that they're sort of learning along the way, which is how to hold space for themselves and how to hold space for others because they're doing this along with you. So, you know, it's like this extra thing that they're learning is how to hold space for people in the same way that you do, in the same way that all of us at Sensual Souls are doing. You know, I feel like we are holding space for others until they learn how to hold space for themselves. And if they learn how to hold space for others as well, oh my gosh, what amazing work to be doing in this world, to be creating these these beings who can go out and be non-judgmental and empathetic towards others. It's such beautiful work that you're doing.
And how powerful is that? Like, I feel as if it's such a, you know, when we can be with ourselves in that way, we're then able to be with others in that way, and to be able to go out with these tools and these ways of connecting that comes from a place of compassion. You know, that exchange is just beautiful, and I feel like it really does filter through in all of our connections, you know, beyond the sessions, beyond the workshops, how we are at work, how we are in our relationships. It's a powerful way to be with self, and it's kind of like, you know, being like leading by example, being how we want and hope the world can be.
Absolutely. And what sorts of things do people tell you that they've gained from a session with you or a gathering with you?
A lot of the feedback has been in they've gained more practices, more resources for their self-love, self-care toolkit. Um, they've given themselves more love and appreciation and gratitude for their body and what their body does. So really strengthening that relationship with their body and seeing their body in a new way, in a new light. More confidence in their movement, in their ability to express. Um, and that can also then lead to their ability to really stand in their power and stand in their sovereignty, and voice what they want to voice as well outside of the sessions. Um, just as we were saying before, I think they really enhance their ability to be less judgmental of their emotions, to be more compassionate and patient with their emotions as they rise, and feel supported to be able to do that on their own and to work through big things in life with the practices that they've learned. And also more connection to play and joy, and this sense of vibrancy is a big one that people often speak about.
Wow, that's huge. I mean, all of those things that you've just mentioned are huge wins, to be reconnected to your body, to be reconnected to your inner child, to be able to hold space for your emotions and to feel empowered. Like, wow. How important is reconnecting clients to their inner guidance, intuition, or authentic self in the work that you do?
Oh my gosh, Kate, it is my why. It is the reason why I do this work. Um, I've had my own lived experience of being for many years so disconnected from myself, through a mix of childhood things and different experiences over my life. My way of coping was to live solely in my mind. And I had a very dissociated and fractured relationship with my body. And I guess a mistrust, um, or a lack of confidence with my intuition. Uh, and that's what I needed to repair. That's what I needed to really cultivate and come back to. And it's been through these modalities of movement and breath and body awareness and the various different creative art modalities I get to play with that I've been able to return to that sense of self, to return to, okay, there, hello, old friend, like this is me, and be able to tap into the inner resources and that innate body wisdom that I believe we all have. We're just maybe needing some extra support and guidance with how to create those avenues and pathways to get to that goodness and to be able to feel how we want to feel and live how we want to live, that is guided from that place of authenticity, but also like strong knowing that that is our truth, and we can live by that, and we can stand by that, and we can do it in an incredibly empowering and playful way.
Absolutely. That is the mission. So what makes you most excited about being part of the Sensual Souls team?
Oh my gosh. um well, firstly, I would say that as soon as I met as soon as I met all of these beautiful women, I felt an instant feeling, which is so unusual for me instantly, but an instant feeling of sisterhood, an instant feeling of support and care, like genuine care, a genuine wanting to be there for each other, to build each other up. And of course, the laughter and the play and the ease that came with was just so exciting. I am really big on collaboration. I'm really big on community. I love that I feel that the group has many shared values, which are going to build a really strong foundation to do really powerful work together. Um, and that work that we do is very complementary. So I feel like as an offering to the community that are going to join us, they have such a beautiful smorgasbord um, of practitioners who are there and ready to serve and be in support of. And it's so varied, but like, I think they work really well together. So yeah, I'm excited to collaborate. I'm excited every time we speak for different ideas coming through for different workshops that we're going to be offering. And I feel really good about what we're going to build.
What a delicious, tasty smorgasbord we are.
Oh my gosh, it's so yummy. Sign me right
Juicy.
up.
Well, thank you so much, Cathy. That was awesome. And I am so honored to have you as part of the Sensual Souls team.
I am so honored to be part of it. It's such a beautiful collective.
Thanks, Cathy.
Thanks, Kate.